And hello again. Here we are back in the next one. There's episode 14. It's taken up directly from the previous episode 13, where I basically proved I really haven't got a clue what I'm doing. Yeah. So what we need to do, the goal here is we have to do a rendezvous mission in Mun orbit. That is the number one. We then want to put the satellite into a slightly different orbit, and it's got to be a satellite because for the second contract it's got to be a satellite. Okay, can live with that. Right, what does this satellite have to have? That's Kerb in orbit. Lock on there, that's not the one I want. So 2 vessels in orbit at the Mun, which can be anything really, can do that quite nicely. Where is my polar orbit of Mun contract? Something very strange has just happened there. I suspect... Where are the archives? I should have 2. Where are we? Satellite in polar orbit of Mun, satellite in polar orbit of Mun. Oh, right, okay, so even though the mission didn't finish, the mission finished, if that makes sense. So, if I now focus on Mun, there is no... Oh, I've got that one. Oh yes, that's that equatorial orbit mission, which I'm not doing as yet. Right, well, I think I'm going to grab that one instead. We'll put a satellite in an equatorial orbit, and we'll do the rendezvous at the same time. Obviously, when it... Yeah, obviously when it... I dropped the other satellite off, it did work. It just didn't record at the time. So, okay, so what does that have to... What does that have to have on it? Equatorial orbit of the Mun has to have a thermometer. Okay, yep, live with that. So, right. Start again. So we've got that. I know it is going to require a thermometer, because we've been told it requires a thermometer, so we'll have one of those. I'm going to put 4 of these on it again, because I want the thing again to pull double duty as a communications relay. We are going to put a battery on board. I'm going to put a reaction wheel on board because I'm going to be doing some other bits and pieces with this, so I want this thing to actually be able to work. So this is going to be Munstar 3, which, as I say, has got double duty to pull. There's the satellite. That'll complete the satellite contract. That'll complete the satellite contract when I put the solar panels on it. Put the thermometer there. I can then go in and put the solar panels on. Because without those, we're not going to get anywhere at all. Right, so there's the satellite. What I now need to do is make that something that can rendezvous with something else. So what we're going to do is coupling. We'll put one of those there. I'm then going to stick one of those under it and give it an engine, because that is now quite capable of that mission. Hopefully capable of the rest of it as well. Now I could put the previously seen honking great booster underneath that. Don't really need to. Quite frankly, this does not need that level of half-wittery. We have... Oh, I see what that is. It's a thing you can mount multiple engines on, if you want to put multiple small, diddy little engines on things. So that one and that one will go together. That one and that one will go together. That now needs a stage to get it to the Mun. And... I am going to go with one of those, because that will also do duty as the rocket upper stage. Again, we'll take that up. I need to put a lower stage below that. And the lower stage below that, I'm going to build it. It's going to have one of those. It's going to have one of those. It's going to have not that one of those. And then I'm going to stick one of those under it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what performance that's got in at sea level. Show all. So it's got a thruster weight that'll get it off the ground. Put that into there. That'll thrust a weight to get off the ground. That should be enough. Because the top of it isn't particularly aerodynamic, I'm going to do that. If I had the aero shield for the top of it, I'd be using it, but I don't. So there we go. Save that, launch. So again, let's warp to sunrise. Yeah, that works. Stability on, full throttle, launch. And we'll go over. That reaction wheel serves a useful function in it. Ooh, wobbly. I should put some struts on there. Never mind. Too late now. Yeah, the reaction wheel serves a couple of purposes. The main one being when this thing is in orbit, the wheel inside the pod isn't terribly powerful. So by using it this way, I can have a little bit more control. These atmospheric lines is sort of like shockwave lines. When you start seeing them, you know you're getting a fair bit of drag. So as they disappear as we go through the lower atmosphere, where things get a little bit thinner. This boost stage obviously is not going to get us into orbit. It's not supposed to. But it will do most of the work. And as previously, this can go a little bit higher and then circularize. I'm quite happy with that. Just so long as it gets up there. As you see, the actual satellite stage at the very top is, over 3,000 meters per second on its own. It is quite capable of doing the mission by itself once it's in space. I would just prefer to have the upper stage here do a little bit more of the work for me. So we accelerate quite rapidly here. What I'm going to do is cut the engines, separate, fire a little bit to get away from that one. And then we're going to coast into orbit basically from there, because this is going to get us up to well over 100 kilometers, and from there I can do a maneuver to circularize quite nicely. But there's no point doing it until we're actually in space, so we wait for the music. Do that. Perhaps it's 90 odd, yeah, that'll do. So that. Set ourselves on that maneuver, which is actually, well, I'll aim for the maneuver, but it's basically the prograde node, which, as you'll note, this particular pod is not capable of holding. So we're going to get to T-minus 25, and then we're just going to hit the engines. And this is a very rough way of just getting the thing into orbit. Once I've got that up and running, I can fire everything else up, drop out the antennas, and then off we go. Now, I've got two choices with this mission. We can go for the rendezvous first, or we can do what I'm actually going to do, which is the equatorial orbit part first, because that's the easiest thing to get into. We'll drop this satellite into equatorial orbit, we'll complete that, and then we will move it, because there's nothing in the contract that says we have to leave it there. I'm quite happy with not leaving it there. So there we are in orbit quite nicely. We have a little bit of fuel left, not a vast amount, but we do have some, which will start our little quest for the Mun with this satellite. This will tell us we need to stage part way there, which I'm fine with. And we'll get into a Mun orbit, and then we'll just deal with it from there, basically. So let us do this, and yes, obviously I am going to be using a chunk of the fuel from the satellite stage. As you see, we've got 3,200. That's plenty. Curb into Mun is about 1,000, 1,200, something like that. That'll get you into a Mun orbit. So let's warp to the maneuver. And this time I'm going to show the power of the maneuver node. I'm going to extend one of the antennas to start with. So the power of the maneuver node, what I'm going to do is line up on the maneuver node. So 34-second burn, so about T minus 18 will do it. 17, something like that, 17, 18. And I'm just going to fire this, and we're going to fly it from here, and then at the end we're going to see how close we are to where we should be. Largely because I've got to do a staging action part way through, so I might as well do it this way. So, don't need to worry about that bit. Nearly there, nearly there, nearly there. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom! That, and we'll fling this off. That's another piece of rubbish left in Kerb in orbit. I'll go through and I'll do a delete session at some point. I'll just go in and wipe them out. Now this is going quite nicely. And when that goes down to 0, we cut off. There we are. Vroom. What have we got? Oh, look at that. It's going to take us roughly where we want to be. So, what I need to do now is put this into this sort of position. We're in the shadows at the moment. I'm going to then say, warp all the way around there. And we're back in. See, we're gathering sunlight again, which is the key bit. All various bits of junk going around Mun as well that needs dealing with at some point. Whee! Dink. Now the polar orbit, frustratingly, is a retrograde one, which is actually slightly annoying. If I'd have realised that, which I should have realised because I should have checked, I would have actually put the encounter, I would have gone on this side. But yeah, okay, whatever. We are going to break into orbit there. But I'm going to leave it as quite a high orbit. We're not particularly well inclined, but again, doesn't matter. We'll get where we need to go. Over here somewhere. There we are. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to break into orbit, and then spin the orbit around. See, this is where we start thinking, do I do the rendezvous bit first? Because I can probably do that on the way, so to speak, with the half of the plane change. Because that's... If I flip that... So I need to be going... So if I flip that around so we go north at that point... Yeah. I'll get into orbit and I'll work out what I'm going to do with that. Basically, because I'm going to have to spin this thing around 180 degrees, I might as well spin it 90, do the rendezvous, and then spin it another 90. If that makes some sort of sense. I've got the fuel to do it. The other advantage of this one being a satellite is it doesn't have to come back. Which which is potentially quite useful. That'll do. Doesn't have to be accurate, this particular one. Right, so what I'm going to do, see that has got a descending node of 100 and that's a lot, whereas that, see, I can go for either. I can basically rendezvous with anything. I mean, I could put this into the orbit and then go back and rendezvous with it. However, I would rather set that as my target. So I need to go there. If I actually go here, add a maneuver there, and what we're going to do is show me that. Wrong way. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do a bit of a break. I'm going to do that, and a bit of a break. Do that, bit of a break. This is basically accounting for the way the thing is sorting itself out. So, if you notice when I was doing the maneuver last time, the thing kept rotating on me. So that, I'm not quite at the node. That'll do, frankly. So what I need to do now is go down here to where that node is, where that is pointing. I need to make sure we are going to be collecting sunlight, which we should be. We're not going to collect much. Yeah, but I've got sun exposure. As long as I've got sun exposure, I'm happy. Basically because it means I'm not going to struggle and the batteries aren't going to go flat, is the other thing. I'm also going to come in here and open up the rest of the antenna, because at this point I might as well. Right, that's that. So what I need to do now is 7-second burn, it reckons. So T-3. We will fire the engines for a few seconds. T-4, why not? And the orbit does that, and the target ascending node, wherever it is, delete the maneuver so I can see what earth I'm doing. Ascending node 0.9 degrees, so but we're going to be going the other way, so I'm now going to go around to periapsis. I'm going to warp to there, and then I'm going to lower the orbit down a bit, and then we'll take it from there. But as you see, I'm now going round the Mun in the right direction. And if you read the small print on the contract, it says what I've got to do is get to within visual range, and then kill the relative velocity. So we're not docking or anything. We're just going to go and have a look at the thing. There we are with that. So I'm going to drop that down like so. I need to steer the orbit slightly. The node is at 1 degree, but that's fine. I'm going to go to here, and the reason I'm going to go here is this is where the two orbits cross. It's not because this is the intersect point. Sorry, where it says the apoapsis. It's the intersect between the two orbits. Because I'm going to rotate the orbit slightly, because at the moment you can see it overlaps. I want that to be the point where they meet, and then we'll come around the elsewhere. And then this time, I'm going to try and remember how on earth to actually do this. I do know. It's the frustrating thing. I do know how to do this. I've done this repeatedly. Right, what we do now is just gently. Is that correct? Do that to there, like that. Right. And now, what I need to do is highlight that one. Again, I need to check we're going to be generating power, which we are, because this is going to take a little while. So, highlight that one, and now we're going to go around the orbit a little bit. We are in a slightly lower orbit, so we are actually going to catch this little probe, and every time we go past here, these lines will move. Or every time it goes past there, the lines will move. And as you can see, this is coming round. We want these 2 points to be near as damn it where they are. It's not going to be perfect. We're going to get them fairly close, and we can see it's jumping. It's jumping a bit of a distance each time. Maybe another couple of orbits. It'll jump far enough, and what I'll then do is I'll tweak the orbit so that we're closing in more slowly, if that makes sense. This is why docking manoeuvres and everything get so tedious, is you really have to... You want to get yourself closer. Higher performing craft can do it from a greater distance. See, the closest approach we can have here is now 428. 200. So on the next one I'm going to slow down, and we are going to change the orbit a little bit. See, 113. I'm going to tweak that slightly. I want to what I want to do is change our rate of closure, if that makes sense. I mean, I don't know whether one more orbit would do it, but yeah, so I need to go up, raise the orbit slightly, like that. There we go. And we're going to go around again. Now that's saying the separation next time round is 140. What I'm hoping is the time after that it'll be 45. So, okay. Forty-five kilometres. Yeah, no, 48 kilometres. It could be closer than that. And because it could be closer than that, I want it to be a little bit closer than that. Right. Peg that one as well, because what I need to do here is again raise my orbit slightly. What this is now showing is this intersection and the one after. So it's sort of getting the sequencing of them off a bit. There we go. Let's try that. See, we're here catching the thing. There we are. That's going to be a lot closer next time round, which is what I want. So slow down a bit here. The target nav ball has now changed target. This is one to watch out for. If you're still thinking you're adjusting your orbit at this point, you're not. So 29 kilometers is not visual range, but what we're going to do is kill the relative speed when we get here at closest approach, and then we can play around with it a bit more. Alright, so what we now do is that, and keeping an eye on these things as I'm doing it, because this you see what's happening now is our closest approach is working nicely, but we'll destroy our relative velocity, which, as you can see, doesn't put us in the same orbit. What we now do is head towards the thing, which is that one, which is target. So a little bit on that, and as you can see, these two orange markers are getting a lot closer together now. So that's 6, 5. Visual range is about 2 kilometers in this game. So there we are, and we're going to get round to there, and then I need to break relative, which will bring this back down again, but we'll be doing that as we get there. So let's a bit closer. Whee! Come all the way around here like this. So what I now need to do is this here, brake relative to the target. Right, now up here, we may, at this point, if I look around somewhere, it should be highlighted. If I point at the target, it isn't, but it should be, because there should be something on here telling me how far away I am, which is a bit frustrating. There isn't really, actually, because there should be, because we are quite close. Closest approach 1.3 kilometers. .6 kilometers. I should do. And it says we've rendezvous. Now, personally, I want to see the thing. I mean, yeah. You used to get target markers. It may be the thing's actually close enough now. It's not going to show them. You used to get something that said, you know, you are at such and such a distance from the thing. I'm going to take us around the orbit a little bit further. There we are. Let's try and find where it is. Not that way. Try it this way. Oh, hello, man. Yeah, it's here somewhere. Yeah. And I've set the thing as a target. It should be showing it to me, but for some reason it's not. So I'm going to go into there. Problem is I need to... Right, with that one. Unstar one, that. Unset target. There we are. Get rid of that. Right. What I now need to do is get myself into the appropriate orbit for that. And the way I'm going to do that is come around to here and go outwards a little bit. The reason we're going outwards is to say plane changes again as you get further out become a little bit easier. So I'm not far off the right orbit. So I'll just say that there. I might just try the plane change. I've got over 1,000, and then this thing will just sit into equatorial orbit at that point. Right, so we are here with... that's the one I want. Is that ascending node? Now ascending node is... that's descending. Ascending node, I believe, is this one. So if I do... yep. I'm not quite at the node point now, so I need to... a little bit careful on this. Again, I'm not going to get this spot on at this point, but... all I'm trying to do is get it close. Right, so then we are going to continue around. So this is 9 degrees off. We're going to continue around until we hit the descending node, which is there. We'll continue this burn. That'll get the plane orientation correct. And having thought I failed this mission last time, hopefully I'm going to get it. Yeah, I need to work out how to turn the target marker thing on so I can see where I am. Right, so that's that. Wrong one. This node here. There we are. Right. That'll probably count as near enough in terms of the node thing. Again, I need to get here and rotate the orbit. Because we're out on that side, so what I need to do is find, I don't know, it's this one. Radial in, radial out, it's one or other. That looks about right, and then I need to make the orbit bigger. Make the orbit a bit bigger, that should. There we are, done the orbit. So that's that mission completed as well. Woo! We'll wait a little while and the contract complete thing will come up. There we are. So we've done that, and we've done that. And what I now need to do is put the thing into a suitable orientation to catch sunlight, which is like that because of the way its panels are. There we are, and that is now another relay satellite orbiting Mun quite nicely. Yeah, so that's another couple of missions done. We have the Kerbal one. What I'm hoping is there's now going to be another world's first one for a different rendezvous. There is explore Minmus. Ooh, Minmus flyby, out and back. Okay, that's quite good. So we've got 3 left. Right, flag on Mun. Yes, because that is land. That's a land on Mun contract. Side data from space around the Mun is an automatic one. We can do that, and then this explore Minmus we're definitely taking. So what we're going to do is side data from around the Mun. So what we're going to do is go straight to our new little satellite because it's not done it. It's not done one of these yet. Where did I put the thermometer? It's on here some. Oh, there it is. Log temperature. Beam it back. Dink. Right, that's that done. So we now have a choice: is flag on Mun or Minmus, and I am going to go with flag on Mun. Minmus one's going to pay better, but flag on Mun means I can test out this thing slightly better. What I do need to do, however, is take that down, delete that, and fit that back on there. I don't need the satellite stage to do this now. Right, so who's going to walk on Mun now? Val's done it, so I think Jeb gets the dibs this time. We've got the science. This will bring in a bigger science payload as long as I don't land somewhere I've already landed. So we're going to do this one reasonably quick. I'm going to warp to sunrise again so we can see the thing as it goes up. Whee! That'll do. We're going to hit full throttle. We're going to turn stability on, and I'm going to get this thing into orbit, and we're going to burn to the Mun, and I will catch you in Mun orbit. Yeah, as you can see, I've now run out of power. Hopefully not fatal. Just means I'm going to have to delay the Mun burn a little bit until we can get around here. Some sunlight. Hopefully we will regain some power. There we are, we've got power again now. So that's what I'm going to do is turn that onto that, do that, and then we will replot the burn for Mun for the next orbit. Okay, here we are in Mun orbit. You may have noticed a slight mistake on launch. I meant to press that button. I pressed that one. The thing went haywire. Anyway, never mind. So what I'm going to do now is circularise the orbit at a fairly low level. This will make picking the landing site a little bit easier. Because we've done the far side crater. Val landed there and dropped a flag there. Jeb wants to land somewhere else as a result. We've done the Midlands as well. That's the orbit going the wrong way again because I didn't wait until we were here. Yeah, so I'm going to try and find one of the other craters to land in. Yeah, there's a big one there. I don't know whether that's the far side one or not. What I'm going to do here is toggle that, put the flags on. No, it's not. The far side one's the other side. This is the reason for putting the flag in when you land, is you can see where you've landed. So I'm going to get this down here to reasonably circular orbit. I don't particularly want to land at night. I can if I have to. With a sort of radar altimeter it is possible. Let's bring this down a little bit quicker. Dink, that'll do. Right. I think that crater is the target. There is a twin crater, which I thought... Or do we go for that one? Where's the flag? The flag's around there. I think I might go for that one, actually. I'm going to go warp there. I think there we're going to hit the brakes and we're going to land in whatever crater that is. We'll find out what it is. Then we will land and we will do all sorts of wonderful things when we're there, and then we will take off. As you can see, we've got 700 odd meters per second in the boost stage still, which is, you know, this thing. So we're going to use a chunk of that on the way down, and as we go down we will jettison that thing and we will land using the landing engines. And once we've landed using the landing engines, we could probably lift off using the landing engines and get all the way home again using them. Yeah. So that's about where we're going to touch down. Aim for about there, and we'll land short. We'll land short of that somewhere. So put that back in surface mode. Back onto here. Jeb can fly the thing down. All I'm going to have to do is stage at some point to drop that off. So what we're going to do is warp until we're a bit lower. How close I get before I get too scared. Right, anyway. So we're over the crater now. So what I can do is let Jeb do this. And I'm then going to kill all of the velocity. Because that'll make it a lot easier for us to just drop like a stone. This craft, I mean, as you can see, this is a lot wider than the previous one. It has the distinct advantage it is a hell of a lot more stable when it is on the ground. There we are. You can see now we're pointing downwards. I don't want to point all the way down with this, because basically I don't want to land on top of it. Go radar altimeter. Because basically I'm not going to hold on to this all the way down. Well, we can't, but we don't have enough fuel to actually take that to the surface anyway, I don't think, anyway. Because our velocity will increase again. Get it up to about velocity a little over 150. Around that. And now, basically what I can do now, or should be able to do now, is burn this thing's tanks dry and then drop it. and we'll watch it. We'll watch that fall to the surface. And I'm now going back up because I, like a numpty, I forgot to kill the throttles. But it's alright, we'll fall back down again. You can see that's descending. That'll explode when it hits the ground. So we'll be going back down again very shortly. What that does show is that the 3 engines under full thrust will lift us off, which is quite nice to know. Gives you sort of abort capability. And here we go, we're coming back down again. I know basically a very minimal amount of thrust will arrest the descent. Carry on down, we'll hit. There's the explosion, even though in space nobody can eat ice cream. We have a suitable explosion. Let's kill some of this. I have occasionally I've landed and sort of walked over to the wreck of the descent stage. Here we have plenty of control over this. Yeah, I want to see the landing shadow when it appears, because that's a useful thing for... And I've got the radar altimeter for how high we are. You never used to have that. When I was playing this on console, you didn't have the radar altimeter. You had to guess. So what I used to do is I would land something. Whenever I put a flag there, I would stick its altitude. I'll just sort of I'd write that in the thing. So look at the flag and go, ah yes, that is at plus 1,000 meters, or that is at minus 500 meters, or something. Yeah, we've got the lights on. It says we've got the lights on, but we haven't. Sometimes you're going to warp and whatever, it turns the lights off, which is a bit... Don't turn the lights off, it's dark. I don't like the dark. Let's maintain a bit of control of this again. Obviously, if we hit at this speed, we're going to... Yeah, see, there's the landing shadow. That's useful because as that gets, as I said before, as that gets closer to us, that tells us exactly where we are. But equally, if you compare this to my my manual descent with the probe, which was a bit sideways, although it did work, and then compare it to this, where we're coming straight down, and Val, where we came straight down. Yeah, we'll do alright. I think if I can do that... Yeah, it's not going to work. Never mind, it was worth a try. I'm just going to see basically whether I could get an extra bunch of science rewards for doing a crew report above the surface. And again, you see the lights coming together and converging nicely at the bottom as well. Big rock. Yeah, we're going to miss that. Quite happy we're going to miss Big Rock. Well, we're going to be near it. We're going to have a look. It's not a green one, is it? And velocity starts wobbling a little bit as you get down. And when we land, cut engines. Turn the stability off. Whee! There we are, we're down. Look at that. Right. Do a bit of science. Crew report, Mun's East crater. So that's good, because that now tells me where I am. So I can do that. Observe mystery goo in the East crater. It's less dense. Well, that's nice to know. Log pressure, log temperature. See, all this is a huge amount of science, and now the big one is the materials study. 60 odd science. You see, collecting that is huge. Right, so Mr. Jeb, go out on EVA. You are going to take your data. You are going to do me an EVA report, because you can. You are then going to let go. Whee! Down we go. Crunch. We're going to look at that. I'm going to collect that. Yep. As it says, it takes a scientist to sort that one out. We're going to come over here and we're going to We are going to complete our mission by planting a flag. So this is going to be East Crater. East Crater. It was here. That'll do. And you can give him this. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. There's deployable science experiments and things you can get now. Which I've got. I think I actually got a few of them. We have to land them somewhere. What you do is you drop off like a goo pod, and it's got a computer that controls it and a camera looking at it and stuff, and then you it gradually beams information back, which is quite nice. Yeah, take the data from that and take the data from that. You think, oh, that's good, and so yeah, you just drop you. What they were trying to do was come up with ways of giving you a reason to like build little bases, and it's like, well, I'll build a little base so that I can put these experiments outside. So we'll come back here. I think it was that key. That key? Ah, yes, that key that does it. Right. So now I want to go up. We go up. We go up. We go up. We go forwards. Up. 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 F grab. Climb, climb. Right, okay. I'm going to go this. Jeb, you're annoying. Right. We've climbed that. We need to come this way. F grab. Kdunk. Right. Let's try that again. Right, LCS on. Up we go, wee, up here, up here, up here, up here, forwards, up here, grab. I want to climb up a little bit. Board, there we are, we're back on board. Now, I want to test the upper stage at this point. We still got that. Well, that oh, I've still got the decoupler on the bottom. Okay, well I'm going to decouple, so that falls off. What I now need to do is I switch these engines off. I switch these off so I can throttle up a little bit without them firing, and then the upper stage will lift off. And I need to go towards 90, which is that way. So what we'll do is we'll set throttle about there. There we go. Right. Whoa, 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 whoa. Stability on. Rocket engines on, and then throttle up again. Yeah, okay. Human error again. It's always human error. It's never Jeb's fault. It's always my fault. Anyway. So I want to be that side so I can see what I'm doing. And down there we've left our little thing, which is it's basically debris at this point. There's no probes or anything on board, so it's not going to do anything else. Throttle up a little bit. So what we're heading for now is Mun orbit. Now I'll get the apparatus up to about 20-25. And once we've done that, we can then circularize that. Yeah, that'll do. That one. That one there. Add maneuver, because I want to see how much this is going to take. So yeah, 200 odd gets me into quite a large orbit, which I don't need. That'll do. Like that. Prograde hold. Jeb can do that for me. There we go to there, and burn the engine at full whack, and oh look, we're in orbit. Right, 16, that's fine, I don't care about that. Where's Kerbin? I believe I want to do my Kerbin injection burn about there. There. So we lock that on. 13 is a bit low. As usual, I want that to be about 30. 35, that'll do, and I can fine tune it at the end. Go to there. Let's see, 240 to get back. I've got basically 760 available to me. This is not going to be a problem. 8-second burn. Kill that. Burn the end of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Dink. Right, and I can come over here and say lock that on. And do it slightly more sedately, so I can this is the one that bites if you get it wrong. So we do this around here like so. 24. Yeah, a little bit low, but it'll do. Right. We're now going to warp to there. So we'll go around the orbit. Whee! Round to there like that. As you see, this little craft, it's not massive, but it's perfectly capable. So what I'm going to do is fast forward a little bit further till we get a bit lower, and again I'll let Jeb take it through the atmosphere. Looks like we might even be landing in sunlight for once. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Land a bit, see what we're doing. Whee! Ding, 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 like that, and then fire that. Possibly could have done with that on a slightly greater angle, but there we go, we'll see. Arm parachutes, and I'll see you on the ground. And here we are back at the Space Centre. 166 science that mission netted us. So, I'm going to drop out of that. We'll look in here. Side data from the surface of the Mun is another one that's going to pay well. And we're just going to go and do that again. Because we have Mun Ranger 2 available. So we can flip over to this. And, ooh, bit bouncy there. Yeah, it tends to do things like that. We'll do this, log temperature, transmit. Well, not enough electric charge. Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, so that's relatively straightforward to deal with. I've got the data. There isn't enough charge in the battery to transmit it, so what I'm going to do is just carry on a little bit until we do have enough charge in the battery. There we are. So, log temperature, overwrite that, transmit. They are done. As before, that is another science from type mission, and eventually you have probes dotted all about, and every now and again one of those comes up, and it's basically free money in the game. I don't know. Well, the less said about Kerbal Space Program 2, the better. I don't know if the plan was ever to actually do something about that. Another flag on Mun, which we will take. Bring Munstone back with you. The Highland craters, East Crater or Polar Crater biomes. Yeah, I'm going to take it, but I'm not going to be doing it anytime soon. Right. Science. What can we now unlock? So basically I've got enough to take 2 more of these. So miniaturization, that's useful because that is a scientific experiment we can do. That is that ground probe thing I said. You can put a goo pod down and leave it. Space exploration is the experiment station, so you need one of those to do the other bits. Hitchhiker is basically a passenger pod. Various ground bits. Wheels EVA repair kit, cargo storage units, and a ladder. They're quite useful. Landing, yeah, don't need it yet. Aerodynamics, yeah, don't need it yet. Advanced construction, useful for launching satellites because it gives us the aero shell. We've got these couple of plates, so you can stick 3 engines on the bottom of one and other bits and pieces, flags and decals. They're useful as radial decouplers for sticking other bits and pieces on. So yeah, I mean, there's a few of these we could do with. What I'm going to take, however, is that one and that one, like that. That's that. I'm going to, before I forget, I'm going to go into the Munlander X, and I'm going to make it a slight change because I've now got an extra part that I want to fit to the thing. We're going to come around here, and what I'm going to do, I think it's under utility, ladders. Don't massively need them, but what this means is when Jeb's trying to climb up the thing, he's got something more to grab hold of. I'm also going to give this thing an antenna, so we are going to be in communications slightly more often. Only really need one, so I'm just going to give it one. There we go, that's that. And what we've now got available, you see, we've got these cargo pods, and I can start setting these up. We don't have the solar panel version yet, which is also needed. There's basically, yeah, you need the control station, the experiment, and the solar panel generator, which we haven't got as yet. Yeah, but then you can put some lights and stuff down, which I don't need. So that's that. Right. That's it for this episode, I think. Thank you very much for watching. Any comments or suggestions for further things? I mean, it's a career mode playthrough. I'm largely running it based on what I've got available in these places. I can go a bit more. See, that takes a lot more. That maneuver tool available. No idea what that does. That basically lets you start sending probes much, much further out than I'm going to. The R&D facility is very expensive to do, but it gives you the surface sample science, which is well worth having. That was the other thing I want to add to the Kerbal X. I've got the that's alright. I'll go into that. There's an extra slot in here. What I want to do is put that in there. In fact, what I actually want to do is put a couple of those in there. What this basically means is Jeb can get out, and I think if he's on the money, plays golf and a few other bits and pieces with that. It's just another experiment, but it's worth doing. And eventually you start sticking some cargo pods and things on the side of this, but don't need to for now. So yes, thank you very much for watching. I will catch you all in the next one. As usual, comments welcome, shares, upticks, downticks, all that good stuff. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you around. Enjoy your day, and goodbye.